What is the best way to get to Lower Manhattan from New Jersey? Most people know that your first option will always be New Jersey Transit, which enters New York City in the Midtown area at 34th Street, Penn Station. But if you want to get to Lower Manhattan without making a bunch of connections, and you want to avoid all roads, the path will always be your best option. In this video, I'm going to show you what the path is and its long, winding history. The PATH, or Port Authority Trans-Hudson, is a 4-line, 13-station rapid transit system that operates between New York Penn Station and Hoboken in New Jersey, and 33rd Street and World Trade Center in New York, with intermediate stops. The PATH is wholly owned by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, a joint venture between the two states. In 2022, the system saw 45.5 million rides across its 13.8-mile routes. The system uses above-ground and grade-level track from Grove Street in New Jersey to Newark. In New York and the New Jersey Hudson waterfront, it runs as a deep-level subway using the cast-iron Hudson tubes to pass under the Hudson River. The PATH name only came to be in 1962, but the lines on which it runs were first opened in 1908. The routes of the system were originally operated by the Hudson and Manhattan Railroad, which was designed to link the Jersey Hudson waterfront with Manhattan. In fact, the H&M Railroad actually predates the first New York City Underground subway. The H&M Railroad was planned in 1874, but it wasn't possible to safely build a tunnel under the Hudson River. The meaningful construction on the tunnels only began in 1902. Named the Hudson Tubes, they are a pair of two tubes that run on the floor of the river. The Hudson companies, with $21 million in capital, were incorporated to complete the uptown and downtown Hudson tubes. In 1907, the H&M Railroad began test runs of empty trains, before commencing revenue service between Hoboken Terminal and the now-closed 19th Street station on February 26, 1908, in the presence of President Theodore Roosevelt. In 1908, the system was extended to 23rd Street. A year later, service began between the Hudson Terminal in Lower Manhattan and Exchange Place in Jersey City. The connection between Exchange Place and Hoboken opened slightly later, forming the basic route for the Hoboken-Hudson Terminal line, now known as the Hoboken World Trade Center line. The H&M was eventually extended from Exchange Place west to Grove Street, before continuing to the Manhattan Transfer Station in Harrison and then the Park Place Station in Newark. This formed the basic paths for the other two routes, Newark to World Trade Center and Journal Square to 33rd Street. For the next 20 years, under the direction of William Gibbs McAdoo, H&M proposed multiple extensions, including ones through to Grand Central in Manhattan and Montclair in Upper New Jersey. In 1927, the H&M enjoyed its record 113 million ridership numbers. Once the Holland Tunnel opened, however, ridership declined. Numbers fell even further when the George Washington Bridge and the Lincoln Tunnel drew people out of mass transit and into cars. As a result, the Uptown Hudson Tube service was affected, as service was cut back to 28th Street from 33rd Street. The Manhattan Transfer Station was closed in 1937, and the H&M switched from Park Place to Newark Penn Station as their New Jersey terminus. The Harrison Station was moved several blocks south as a result. Despite the service changes, ridership continued to fall on the H&M, and bankruptcy neared. In the 1960s, however, in preparation for the World Trade Center, a deal was struck between the Port Authority and the state governments of New York and New Jersey. The Port Authority agreed to purchase and maintain the tubes in return for the rights to build on the site of the World Trade Center. In September of that year, the Port Authority completed its formal takeover and rebranded the system as the Port Authority Trans-Hudson, or PATH. They invested upwards of $70 million to modernize the system, repainted stations into PATH livery, and ordered 162 PA-1 railway cars to replace the H&M stock. While the World Trade Center was constructed, the Port Authority demolished the Hudson Terminal and constructed a new World Trade Center terminal. The Journal Square Transportation Center was also opened later in 1973. Barring some labor strikes over the next 10 to 15 years, the PATH system ran smoothly. Even when the terrorist bombing of the World Trade Center parking garage occurred in 1993, the World Trade Center station suffered very minimal damages, and PATH services were resumed within days. The more devastating effects came by way of the 9/11 terrorist attacks, where the World Trade Center station was fully destroyed during the collapse of the Twin Towers. Service was only fully restored in 2003 after the PATH had built a replacement station. The construction of the permanent new four-platform World Trade Center transportation hub was completed in September of 2016, commonly known as the Oculus, designed by Santiago Calatrava. The most recent improvement to the system was the rebuild of the Harrison station, completed in June 2019. The PATH system runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. During weekday hours, there are 4 PATH services: Hoboken to World Trade Center, Newark Penn Station to World Trade Center, Journal Square to 33rd Street, and Hoboken to 33rd Streets. These are direct descendants of the 4 original services on the H&M. During late nights and weekends, the PATH cuts 2 of the services out and only operates a service from Newark to World Trade Center and a modified Journal Square to 33rd Street service, which goes via Hoboken. The PATH only uses one type of rolling stock, the PA5. It has a much smaller loading gauge than most similar vehicles due to the restricted structure gauge in the Hudson tubes which pass under the Hudson River. Commuters on the PATH can pay the fare using either the reloadable SmartLink card or the MetroCard, the same iconic trusted fare card of the New York City subway. Looking to the future, the Port Authority's biggest plan for their transit system is a Newark Airport extension project. It would see the line extend 2 miles from Newark Penn Station towards the airport. The proposal was first brought up in the mid-2000s and was most recently talked about at a December 2017 public meeting. $1.7 billion was then allocated to the project. The construction never began, however, and in March 2023, the Port Authority confirmed that it was still deferring funding for the airport extension until a future capital plan. That is a very brief overview of the PATH's long, winding history. The evolution from the historic H&M Railroad to the PATH we know now is intriguing, but the routes have not changed that much. The blueprint of the H&M Railroad lines have remained to this day. Over 283,000 people use the PATH per weekday, with a total ridership of 81.7 million back in 2018. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more transit videos. Thank you for watching.